Hi my dear students, welcome back to another session on your English course, your plus 2 English course. Today we are going to discuss the fourth lesson of your course book, Horegallu by Sudha Murthy. It's an anecdote. You know what an anecdote is? An anecdote is a real life story, a short account of one's real life experiences. Is what we call an anecdote. It's an autobiographical story. In this story, Sudha Murthy shares her own experiences, her own childhood memories with the readers. So you may have heard about this great woman, Sudha Murthy, one of the most celebrated women authors in our country. But Sudha Murthy is not just an author. She has found success in various other fields of activity as well. I have written 3 of them here, in which all fields she has excelled in. First of all, she is a great entrepreneur. The most successful woman entrepreneur in our country. And she founded Infosys along with her husband Narayana Murthy. And we know Infosys was the most leading software company in our country for a very, very long time. Now, she is an author par excellence. She is one of the most celebrated authors, women authors in our country. And she has written extensively in both English and Kannada languages. And apart from that, she is a great social worker and a philanthropist. And nowadays she spends all her time in social activities, in social service. She is involved in helping a lot of children get quality education. So we know her in various roles as an entrepreneur, as an author, as a social worker. In all these fields, she has proven that women also could find success if they have the will to. And she is a successful woman. Okay, in this block, Flights of Freedom, we read about struggle for empowerment. How women struggle for empowerment. And here we come across a truly empowered woman, Sudha Murthy. So her story is a really inspiring story, a story of success. And you will find it very inspiring to watch an autobiography, a documentary film on this legendary personality, Sudha Murthy. So you could watch it on the screen, a short documentary film on this successful lady, Sudha Murthy. Please watch it, and I'm sure you will find it very interesting. Once you watch that, we'll come back and read the story Horegallu.
She became the first woman engineer to be selected in telco. She was the angel investor behind one of India's largest entrepreneurial success story of Infosys. Best known for her philanthropic work, she is the chairperson of the Infosys Foundation. She is India's biggest-selling woman author. She is the one and only Padma Shri Dr. Sudha Murthy. Born on 19th August 1950 at Horegallu in Karnataka, Sudha Murthy has been a trailblazer from the beginning. In 1968, when not many females opted for engineering as a career, Sudha Murthy was not only the only girl in her BE batch in BVB College of Engineering and Technology, but she also stood first among all the universities in Karnataka. She did her ME in Computer Science in 1974 from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. And here too, she stood first in her class and received a gold medal. It was while studying here that she saw an advertisement about the telco company wanting trainee engineers. Women, however, were asked not to apply. This made her furious, and she dashed off a postcard to JRD Tata protesting against the discrimination. Following this, Sudha Murthy was called for an interview, and she became the first female engineer to work on the shop floor at telco. thus setting a benchmark once again. It was during this time that Sudha Murthy met Narayan Murthy in Pune and the two got married. It was her savings of 10,000 rupees that was instrumental in the founding of Infosys, a fact always mentioned by Mr. Narayan Murthy. Apart from being known as the wife of the Mr. Narayan Murthy, Sudha Murthy is best known as a social worker. She has been credited for single-handedly promoting the move towards corporate social responsibility. As the chairperson of Infosys Foundation, she has founded several orphanages, participated in rural development efforts, and supported the movement to provide all Karnataka government schools with computer and library facility. Other than being a philanthropic, she is also a prolific fiction author. She has published several books promoting her philosophical views on charity, hospitality, and self-realization in almost every Indian language, and is considered to be one of India's most celebrated entrepreneurs. It was for her contributions in the spheres of philanthropy and literary achievements that Sudha Murthy was awarded the Padma Shri in 2006, the Rajya Prashasti Award in 2000, and 7 honorary doctorates. But she is modest enough to credit all her achievements to the advice from the legendary J.R.D. Tata, who once told her that, "You are only a trustee of money, and it always changes hands. When you are successful, give it back to society. That will give you so much goodwill."
What makes a person beautiful? It is not your makeup, it is not your flowers, it is not your jewelry, it is not your kirita or your bangles or the sari you wear. Nothing makes you beautiful. The beauty of a person is the kindness in the heart, confidence on the face. A connection between a heart and a tongue and a mind is the most beautiful person in life.
The SRK Foundation of Surat is therefore delighted to honor Dr. Sudha Murthy with the prestigious Santokpa Award 2015 for her outstanding philanthropic and literary achievements.
Dear children, hope you have enjoyed watching that beautiful documentary on Sudha Murthy. Now let us proceed to the story Horegallu by Sudha Murthy. Let me ask you about the last lesson we did, Matchbox by Asha Purna Devi. Do you remember the protagonist of that story? Who was the protagonist of the story Matchbox? Yes, it is Naumita. The story tells us about her struggles, her struggles to overcome adversity she faces in her husband's house. And life in a way has become a hell for her. But is there anyone in that family who she can share her sorrows with? Is there anybody who offers her patient ears? Unfortunately, there is no one. All of them are selfish. They have no concern for the sufferings of Naumita. Suppose, just imagine if there is somebody in that family, maybe one of her sisters-in-law, who is very compassionate, who listens to her patiently, and Naumita can freely confide with her. She can freely share her sorrows with her. Now, do you think it would make any difference in her life? What difference it would make if there is somebody who listens to her patiently? It would certainly make a huge difference. And if there is someone who she can share her problems with, she wouldn't feel this much depressed. And I don't think she would take such an extreme step like torching her sari in an attempt to commit suicide. So this is what patient listening can do. Okay, if you listen to each other, if you give relief to each other by simply listening to their problems, it could solve half the problems. Okay, nobody can solve my problems. I have to solve my problems on my own. But when you listen to me, I get so much of relief. And when I'm relieved, when my mind is calm, I can think wisely, I can take better decisions, I can find my own solutions. So we read about a lot of suicides these days, and most of these suicides could be prevented if we all listen to each other, if we offer patient ears to each other. Okay, dear children, God has given us 2 ears and just one mouth. We all are blessed with 2 ears and 1 mouth. What does this signify? What does it mean? Doesn't it mean that we have to do more of the listening and less of the talking? So if we all do that, if we follow this golden rule, talk less and listen more, then don't you think the earth would be a better place to live on? Okay, what we all need is a shoulder to cry on, a pair of patient ears to listen to our problems. And if we have such a person, half our problems could be solved. Dear children, do you have such a friend or a relative who you can share all your secrets with, who you could confide with freely? Is there anybody? If there is nobody, it's high time you made someone. Because in your life, you would come across a lot of situations wherein you are burdened by a lot of worries. You get depressed. And at that juncture in your life, you would need someone who you can share all your worries with. So, but you should be very cautious in choosing such a person. Can you go about telling your secrets to everybody around? You should not. You can't. Okay, what are the qualities you look for in such a person who you want to confide with, who you want to share all your feelings with? So I have listed some of the qualities of a good listener. These qualities are very essential for any good listener. First of all, he should be patient. A good listener must have 2 patient ears to listen to your problems. And secondly, he should be compassionate. What is compassion? Compassion is the ability to understand the sufferings of others. So a good listener must be compassionate and he should be empathetic. He should feel for the sufferings of others. Such a person only can be a good listener. And thirdly, he should be non-judgmental. A judgmental person passes quick judgments. He jumps into conclusion. But a good listener should never be judgmental. He should be non-judgmental. Means he should not pass judgments. So you are telling you about your problems and I start passing judgment. If I say, no, this is not the way you should behave, or you should not have used such a language. So that would actually discourage you from revealing your secrets. So a listener should not be judgmental. He should be non-judgmental. And next, he should not leak out secrets. So you can't share your secrets with somebody who goes about telling this to others, gossiping about it to others. So such a person we can't share our secrets with. So these are the 4 basic qualities required for any listener, any good listener. And these are the qualities required for an expert psychotherapist as well. Who's a psychotherapist? A psychologist or a psychological counselor is an expert in psychology, human psychology, and he gives you expert advice on how to solve your problems. Okay, these qualities are required for such people as well. Okay, this time I remember a particular scene in that movie Kumbalangi Nights. I hope you all have seen that movie. It's one of the best movies we have seen in recent years. In that particular film, there is a scene. Saubin Shahi's character Saji, he visits a psychotherapist. And Saji is undergoing a lot of mental trauma. He is so much depressed and he wants to share his problems with someone. And he visits a psychotherapist. And we see that scene and it's very interesting to note that the psychotherapist does not do any talking. He doesn't speak much. He doesn't say much. It is Saji who speaks all the time. He tells about all his problems, right from his childhood, the insults he underwent, all those things he shares with the psychotherapist. And we see the magic there. After that session, Saji falls on his shoulder and cries on his shoulder. And then he comes out of that session as a totally changed person. We see Saji undergoing that transformation, that dramatic transformation after that single session. Because he feels so much relieved. And now he can take his decisions and he comes out as a better person and he solves his own problems. So in this way, we can't solve the problems of others. We can only help them get some relief, temporary relief, so that they can solve their problems on their own. Nobody can solve your problems. So children, now let us read about two such characters, two patient listeners in this story, Horegallu by Sudha Murthy. In this story, she tells about two people who appeal to her so much in her life. One is her grandfather, and the other one, a lady named Ratna, who she worked with in her Mumbai office, her colleague Ratna. So she finds something remarkable in these two characters. They were good listeners. They gave so much relief to the people around her by simply listening to their troubles, their problems. But you see, the title of the story is Horegallu. I have told the stories about two characters who were very good listeners. They gave relief to the people around by simply listening to their problems. But how come the story is titled Horegallu? What does the word Horegallu mean? It's a very unfamiliar word because it's not an English word. You won't find it in any dictionary. Okay, it's a Kannada word. And what does it mean? It means a stone that can bear weight. In fact, it is a stone bench. Usually a Horegallu is made with a flat stone placed on two vertical stones. A flat stone placed on two vertical stones. And what was the purpose of a Horegallu? A Horegallu would help tired travelers put down their headload for some time and take rest. In all over India, such Horegallus was there in villages. So poor villagers who were carrying a huge headload, they would stop somewhere under a tree, put down that headload on a Horegallu. They would sit there for some time, take some rest, and then they would pick up that burden once again and go ahead with their journey. So Horegallus were very useful in the lives of those poor villagers in India. So she uses the title Horegallu. So what is there in common between a Horegallu and a patient listener? Do you find anything common? Okay, she brings out a parallel between a Horegallu and a patient listener. She says a patient listener is just like a Horegallu. How a patient listener is like a Horegallu? What is a Horegallu for? A Horegallu is meant for putting down your physical burden or the head load on your head. And you get some relief, and after regaining energy, you could pick it up and then carry on with the journey. So in the same way, in your journey of life, you need some emotional Horegallus or some patient listeners who you could share your problems with. Once you share your problems with someone, you feel so much relieved. You are putting down that mental burden. And after some time, you carry that burden once again and you go ahead with a renewed vigor and energy. So the author brings out that parallel between Horegallu and a patient listener. She says her grandfather and Ratna were exactly like Horegallus. When Horegallus carried the physical load, these people carried the mental load, the emotional load, the emotional burden of others. And they also were doing tremendous social service. That is what the author says. The author says they were doing tremendous social service. So children, now we are going to read the first part of the story. Okay, you could read it on the screen. And after reading that first part, I'll be coming back with some questions. We'll have discussions on that. Okay.
Horegallu by Sudha Murthy. Hot summer days remind me of my childhood in a little village. there was a large banyan tree right in the middle of the village, and I would spend many hours playing under it during my holidays. The tree was like a massive umbrella with its branches providing much needed shade and succor. Travelers spent some time sitting under it and catching their breath before going on their way. To make them comfortable, there was a Horegallu under the tree. Horegallu literally means a stone that can bear weight. It was a large flat stone placed horizontally over two vertical ones, thus making a stone bench on which anyone could sit and rest a while, chat with a fellow traveler and exchange news of the road. Cool water would be kept in earthen pots near the bench, and people could quench their thirst before starting their journeys again. I am sure similar simple arrangements can be found in villages all over the country.
Dear children, I don't think you had any difficulty in understanding that because Sudha Murthy writes in such simple language. She writes in layman's terms, layman's language, and that is why she is so popular among ordinary readers. So I don't think I need to explain much, but let us discuss a few questions here. So the first question you take, what do hot summer days remind the author of? So summer days would often remind her of something, her childhood in her ancestral village. In her childhood, during summer days, she would spend hours and hours together playing under a large banyan tree in her village. And the tree was like a massive umbrella, a huge umbrella, providing shade and succor. Succor means support. So this is what she is reminded of. Okay, summer days remind her of her childhood in that village. The days she spent playing under that banyan tree, hours together. Okay, now come to the second question. How did the banyan tree help the tired travelers? That banyan tree provided so much of shade and it was so helpful for the tired travelers. The travelers who were carrying heavy head load, they could put down their head load and take rest under that banyan tree for some time. And they could catch their breath. This is what the author says. They could catch their breath. Means they could relax. They could regain their energy. And after sitting there under that banyan tree for some time, they would feel relieved and they could carry on with their journey with more vigor and energy. So that way, that banyan tree served them. Okay, it was very useful for them. Okay, in olden days in India, okay, you would find such banyan trees in almost every village. These banyan trees were places of social gathering. Okay, evenings people would come and gather under this banyan tree. Okay, they exchange their views. Okay, it became a place where they could sit together and have a lot of social exchanges. Okay, so a banyan tree in a traditional Indian village was a symbol of sharing and caring. Okay, so that way banyan tree is very significant here. It's a symbol of sharing and caring. Okay, now come to the third question here. What was there under the tree which provided comfort to the travelers? What was there under the tree to provide special comfort to the travelers? Right under the tree there was a Horegallu. We have discussed what a Horegallu is. It's a stone bench made of a flat stone placed horizontally on two vertical stones. So right under that tree there was a Horegallu. What purpose did that Horegallu serve? It helped people or tired travelers to put down their head load and take rest. So it was very useful for those people because they could put down their head load and take some rest sitting on it. So right by the side of that Horegallu there was an earthen pot in which drinking water was kept. So the tired travelers could quench their thirst, they could drink water and wash their face with that water. And then after some time, after catching their breath, after regaining some energy, they could pick up their head load and go ahead with their journey again. So that way, this banyan tree and this Horegallu played a very important role in the life of those people. It's not about this village alone. It was a common sight in almost every village in India. There would be a banyan tree in the middle of the village with a Horegallu under it, with some drinking water kept in an earthen pot. Earthen pot is good because it would cool the water inside, so they could drink cool water. So this kind of an arrangement was very common in villages all over India. That is what Sudha Murthy tells us. So she says about that banyan tree in the middle of the village, the Horegallu right under that banyan tree, and that earthen pot in which drinking water was kept for travelers to quench their thirst. Dear children, this session we are winding up here. We have already had a very long session. The remaining part of the story we'll take up in the next session. Goodbye then.